I'm trying to do, we had a little mic issues this morning. My name is Scott Redler. I'm the Chief Strategic Officer of T3Live.com. Can you guys see me? How many fingers am I holding up? Anybody? How many now? Who has two thumbs and loves the VTF? All right. Thanks, Mikey. All right, let's get to this. All right. Let's Alibaba. We have Bob up right now. Anyway, looks like it's heading up. China is strong, so there's 130, but we'll get to that. Let's go to the SPYs. At this point, again, if you're new and you're testing the virtual trading floor, it's 8:15. If you go here, you will see that all the charts are up and they're updated. You go up here to the alert section and they're all in there. So if I did it from right here, like just say it starts with the charts, go to S&P cash is always the first one. I don't trade the futures, but I always do levels for that. So if you go here, you'll see, and I talk about, first of all, this will be done within a few days. I just updated the Blood in the Street account that I sold half of last Thursday, which might be a good sell. We'll see. And then I usually talk a little macro here. Europe's down 1% or so across the board. Something with Germany. I'm not going to act like a German expert, but there was something going on in their political realm that is causing a little bit of angst. And then Israel did do some kind of excursion against Yemen, so that has oil up. Someone had a good call. I think SJS had a good call on the VTF. So then I talk about this is the same thing for the SPYs. Here's one level, and here's 55.60, which is a bigger level. Oscillator was plus 80, went out plus 65. Now it'll be plus 30. So that's that. And then what you want to do is when people tune in the morning, they go through the charts they want to go through. Not everyone plays every chart, but they're always here. Each sector is here. Like here's the Qs. 484 was yesterday's low. The gap pivots 480, gets filled at 476. So I kind of say briefly, Qs have yesterday's low at 484. 480 is the gap pivot, which is right there, and then there's 476. So, I try and connect the dots as much as possible. If you look right here, let's see, where did I just go? Let's go back to this here. The SPYs right now are, down 460 at 558.85. I did sell some premium yesterday, which I'll use as a hedge, and I also got stopped out of a bunch of things, so I have less risk on, so I'll be able to, test a few things out. Here's the SPYs. You go to the Qs, like I just showed you before. Once I'm in the morning call, you have the charts already up on the site, then I go through it a little bit live here. So this is 476-ish. If you look at the Qs, Qs are at 480. They're right at the gap already. So I don't know why it's not showing there, but it'll come up in a second. So this is 480. This is 558. So we're pulling in a little bit towards the moving averages. So we'll see. I'd say this 476-ish is a pretty big spot if it doesn't hold that gap. Then as far as like, I haven't been trading the IWM, but looks like it's got an ascending channel. It needs to hold 176-ish. Most people trading the XBI sold it into this topping tail into resistance. Pretty methodical there. Red dog reversal, higher, low, higher, low, higher, low, right into resistance. I don't think anyone held on to any XBI. If anything, some guys might have got a little short, but we'll see. Here's the alpha team. Let me move you guys over a little bit to here. So I could see what you guys are saying. Scott channeling Steve Jobs with the black shirt. A little bit. I tend to wear a lot of t-shirts here. It's a little easier. Anyway, hold on, what's going on? One sec. All right. Anyway, let's move on. So that's the XBL. So let's go. What am I looking at? Where do I think I can make some cash flow today? Well, Google, we've been buying the dip. It's down a little bit more than I would like this morning, but I'm in small. I'm going to see if we could buy Google versus 162. If 162 doesn't hold, then it goes from being special to, got to figure it out, which would be a little bit closer to the 8-day around 160.73. Microsoft also became a little special status, but again, is it going to be special status and hold it? Is it going to hold 432 or 429? That's a gap pivot. Microsoft is down 340 to 432 also. So both of these, so that is still in the same in line where they're testing yesterday's lows, but above Friday's lows. So that'll be, which is what the SPYs is below yesterday's low, but testing the gap. So it's all kind of in line here. Um, anyways, and then the big pro gap is right there. So I'll be looking at Microsoft and Google, and also, Meta is down 7 at 591. So Meta right here is, 588. So it's $3 above. So those would be three names that if you see the market go lower, the SPYs go lower, positive divergence, maybe there's a play there to get long. Amazon and Apple have been in a void. I've avoided them since last week post earnings. They didn't act well. Apple's got a level around 196, right, and then it fills that gap. We'll see. I think their buyback machine is back on, so it's only down. This is down less than those, so maybe there'll be a red to green trade in Apple. I haven't traded Apple in 3 days. Maybe that's worth a look, so we'll take a look there. Amazon also has been kind of on the do not touch list. Jeff is selling. The earnings were decent but not great. It's been down since 184. Amazon's low is 185.78, and then there's really nothing below until 178.85 or like right around here. So we'll see if there's something there. So I don't know. Out of these five names, it's like I'm not going to be in a rush, but I'm going to really need to see a clue, like a real divergence, where like just say the SPYs and the Qs continue lower and they hold in the first 15 minutes, and then I look to buy it. Plus, I think you got to watch Palantir very close. Palantir, 110.50 is a level. It's below the 8-day, which was 116. It's above the 21-day, which is 105. Palantir is right here. So some guys are already testing it this morning. I am not, but I will watch it. I want to see a divergence here too. I want to see the SPYs go lower. So what does that mean? I mean the SPYs go lower, and then Palantir doesn't go lower, and then the market turns up, and then you buy versus level. That's what I mean by trading the first 30 minutes using daily charts and active clues. So Palantir, I don't even say it right, is it's a spot. So I'm happy to be out of Palantir. Palantir was a great trade for me. From here, I think I got out somewhere into this area, and now I'll be able to retest it. I have no option play on, so I'm not losing 10, 15, 20 grand in that, thank goodness. That's not fun. And we'll see. Same thing with Dash. Dash we got out of yesterday. Power Plays got out of yesterday. I do not take stock into earnings. I don't care how much you love them. I love Dash. I love Palantir. As an active trader, it's May 6th. The last thing you want to do is ruin your month. Being cajones to the wall, long both of them, thinking it's going to save your month or your quarter. Anything could always happen. But anyway, we'll see. Can we be a buyer of either one of these versus a level? If you go to Dash now, Dash has a level of 195, which is right here. That's the 8-day, and then really this is closer to 188. They took over Deliveroo, and the earnings were solid, and the revenues were a little light. It's still a new issue. It's not trading a ton of volume prior to the open, so maybe buyers come in. We'll see. Uber discloses an 85% controlling stake in Trendle Go Online meal and grocery delivery service in Turkey. All right, Todd. Anyway, as far as moving along, Netflix is loose and wide. It, rallied off of that news yesterday, 11:07-ish. Maybe that holds again. I'm not going to really be hyper-focused there. NVIDIA, I think, is very important for the semis. Can it hang in there? It has yesterday's low at 112.66, and then you have 112-ish right here, and then this is kind of where it broke above. So those are like your three levels to see what holds here. So if you want to take a closer look, this is a closer look. I like to buy want to do the little pivots below 112.66. I was long the stock yesterday. I'm just in some options left over. Where is it this morning? NVIDIA is not that much. That's actually pretty impressive. Sometimes you can't really see it pre-market because they don't do everything to kind of screw you up a little bit, but we'll see. NVIDIA. AMD, CEO discussed advanced market driver's role in supporting Malaysia's nationals. Okay. What's AMD doing? It's down 59 cents. The semis are decent this morning, so that's interesting. ARM has been pretty good. ARM's holding in there. I think the ARM is turning into a little bit more of a what's it called? Of a go-to name. But we'll see. Maybe it holds in here and continues. Hold on one second. Hold on. hold on. And don't CEOs know I'm doing the morning call? Anyway, yeah, they're later. What else? What else? What else? What else? I have to be on Benzing at 8:35. Oh, USO. USO is up 2.9%. That was something that we added yesterday. You know, maybe some of you guys bought that. You know, trying to do a few things right so you guys can make some money. USO is a new play brought by SJS. He was saying that he thinks that you know, overseas can get a little you know, get a little testy with Israel and Yemen and this and that to buy some oil. So we bought some USO calls yesterday. Anybody buy some USO calls yesterday? That was a new position. Besides some of the old school positions I had on from last week that, you know, that some aren't working so well. Hi there, I am new here. Great to hear. All right. So happy to be here. What movie is that from? Come on, who knows it? Anyway, come on. And who knows? It's a great line. One of my favorite actors. There you go, Johnny. Coming to America. I have a date with Lisa. Anyway, by the way, what's his face? She lived across the street from me in Syosset. Anyway, so I met Kid and Play a few times. So we'll see what happens. 65-ish is a level, then 67. For those of you who are yelling at me that I called it top in gold, they didn't call it top in gold. I had a play in gold. Okay, GLD put in an outside day. We got long the puts. I bought a lot of puts. You know, not a lot of puts, but enough puts when it had this outside day. Remember, I think we had like the 310s that I covered, and then into this I bought the 300s, and then into the 295. They went from $1 to $4. I got rid of 80%, and then into this little move I flanned out. It was a nice surgical move. Sorry to ruffle the gold bug's feathers. You know, I'm not a bug, or I'm a trader. We trade ranges. We look at bar by bar analysis, and that was a great trade. And if you bought here, congratulations. That was a bottom tail, and you're getting paid. So two sides of the trade. Entries and exits matter. But anyway, never a dull RD, right, Real Still? Anyway, with that being said, I would be trimming into this area. Pretty impressive. As far as IBIT is concerned, you know, it's hanging around. What's it doing this morning? IBIT, down 33 cents, still above this area. I'm smaller. I think you could take a little look at Mr. also. Mr. is down 7. You know, I think if this goes green, maybe Mr. If you sold 400, you could try 380. Makes a little bit of sense, right? Apple reportedly, Apple hit to profit margins could still get worse amid absorbing $900 million tariff costs this quarter. Okay, we shall see. But overall, you know, let's just simplify it. SPYs, you know, will it hold the gap here or see 553.55? We shall see. Or will it come off those lows and reclaim 561? Can any of the mega cap tech names go green from, you know, Microsoft, Meta, Google? Those are the best 3 from last week. Will Amazon's been down for 3 days. Will it find the low? Apple's been down for 3 days. Will it find the low? Tesla is hanging on by a thread. The day I don't look at Tesla, the day it'll probably get better. So we'll see. You know, Tesla's only down 476 at 275. If you take a quick look at Tesla, you know, it's hanging in this pocket pivot by a thread. What do I mean? Well, you know, if there's any kind of hope that this is going to hang in there and then take out 284, 295 for some reason, I don't know what that reason is, it's hanging. You have 274, then 272. If this area breaks with a close below, the last active longs will probably get out. I got out of it yesterday. Anyway, I got to jump. I got an 835 under 2. I got out yesterday at 279. 272 should be some support. Just be careful. It feels like sellers come real early, real fast. So we'll see. At this point, though, the futures got worse and Tesla hung in there. So, you know, maybe it wants to stand out today. We'll see. I'll take a look at it, but I'm not going to be over focused there. I got to jump. I appreciate you guys. I'll have the volume on for Benzinga. As you see, the mornings are very fluid. That's why we get up early. That's why we prepare, and that's why we get our mind right.